Hey, I'm Jana, the little sister.
And I'm Jeff, her big brother. Welcome to Sibling Rivalry, a podcast about our favorite sport, baseball.
This week on Sibling Rivalry Baseball, we ask the question, will our spin rate go up if we use spider tack on the podcast?
Wow, this stuff really... Oh, no. My hands are stuck to the keyboard. Headlines, SRBB, go!
Jim Mudcat Grant, the first African-American to win 20 games in American League history, has died. He was 85. Grant pitched 14 seasons in the major leagues with 7 different teams from 1958 to 1971. He spent his first 7 seasons with the Cleveland Indians, but it was with the Minnesota Twins where he made his biggest impact in the game. He joined the Twins in 1964. He became an All-Star in 1965 and had a 20-win game season, helping the Twins win their first AL pennant. He pitched 3 games in the World Series against the Dodgers, winning 2 of them, including the complete game in Game 6. Grant co-wrote The Black Aces, a book about his 20-game winning season and celebrating baseball's early Black 20-game winners.
Finalists for the inaugural Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Social Justice Champion Award have been announced. The committee of 7, including Kareem, have selected Tobias Harris of the 76ers. From the Bucks, Drew Holiday. Kings forward Harrison Barnes. From the Warriors, Juan Toscano Anderson and Carmelo Anthony of the Trailblazers. The award recognizes a current player for pursuing social justice. The winner will be announced prior to Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals on TNT.
The Oklahoma Sooners women's softball team captured their 5th Women's College World Series with a 5-1 win over Florida State. The Sooners are the first number 1 seed to win the national title since 2015. They are also the 4th team to win after losing Game 1 in the championship series.
The football that 7-time Super Bowl champion Tom Brady threw for career touchdown number 1 sold at auction for over $428,000. The bidding started at $75,000 and drew 33 total bids. No word on who the buyer or the seller are. Leland's, the auction house, recently sold an autographed Brady 2000 playoff rookie ticket card for a record $3.1 million. You can find these and past week's headlines on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com. Remember to rate and subscribe wherever you listen, and tell a friend to listen to the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast.
We love our listeners. We want you to download and listen to the podcast and share it with others. We just ask you to acknowledge Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast as the source of the material. Please do not, except with our express written permission, distribute or commercially misuse the content.
Lots to get to today on the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast. Things like Max is the new name in Southern California. I want you to remember this guy's name, Teoscar Hernandez. Before we get to the big topic du jour and take a look at how things are going on the road to Omaha, I need to talk about what bad baseball podcast host we really are. And that would be back on June 4th was the inaugural celebration of Lou Gehrig Day. And we have at no time talked about Lou Gehrig Day. We don't have to go into detail, but I find that the only thing that's lamer than us forgetting to mention the Iron Horse and having a day is the cruddy little patch that they put on the uniform that was hardly noticeable in honor of Lou Gehrig. What is that? It seemed like that was the same thing that was with Roberto Clemente except that with Roberto Clemente, Puerto Rican players could wear number 21 in honor, but everybody else just had a cruddy little not noticeable patch.
Yeah, it was sad. They didn't execute it well for the inaugural Lou Gehrig Day. So hopefully next year it will be done better. But yeah, the patch was a grayish color. So it wasn't, and if you were wearing on the road your grays, nobody would have seen it. And I don't know I know a lot of stadiums did some pregame things, but not all stadiums. They may have just done a real quick, and that was it. But
shouldn't you overdo the first one?
Yes, it should be fireworks and the whole
Especially
shebang.
because you have people in the stands. It's not like it started last year and there was nobody there and you could kind of do it. They did more for stuff and nobody was even there last year than they did for this year. If you're going to go and honor somebody like that, a player, make it a big deal. It was lame.
It was lame, not only to recognize Lou Gehrig, but then also to bring awareness of ALS. And yeah, MLB failed on both parts.
So from that standpoint, we shouldn't feel bad because the people who put it on hardly mentioned it either, it seems. We just this little podcast that nobody really listens to but us and 6 other people.
Yeah.
And to you 6, thanks for listening. We appreciate you. We really do.
Yes.
Hey, if you DM us on any of our social media, like on Twitter at Sibling Rivalry BB without the A, or Facebook or Instagram, Sibling Rivalry BB, reach out to us. We might be able to get you a sticker and maybe even a T-shirt. The Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast T-shirt. All right. So let's get on with the road to Omaha, and then we're going to get more into sticky substances because there's been some announcements from the Manfreded one about enforcement. So we'll get to that in a minute. But right now, big news out of the college baseball playoffs, and that would be for the first time since 2013, North Carolina State, the Wolfpack, is on their way back to the College World Series.
Which means Arkansas is not.
Right. That's the bigger news. The overall number one. The overall number one is out. They will not be moving on. That makes Texas technically the highest ranking team to move on as far as the overall rankings. NC State, last time they went, a couple of guys you might have heard of were playing for the team. That would have been Trey Turner and a guy who we've heard this year, and actually he'll pop up in around the league, Carlos Rodon, who has pitched a no-hitter this year, was part of that NC State team that went in 2013. They didn't win it all. But yeah, NC State eliminated the Razorbacks. Jose Torres homered off of their ace, Kevin Kopps, who was the SEC Pitcher of the Year. And that eliminated Arkansas there in Fayetteville. Kopps, I thought this was interesting. Kevin Kopps stayed after the game at his home stadium for an hour and signed autographs from all of the Razorback fans. Steven Scooch, or Scooch, I don't know how you say his name, who's been related, has been compared to Kenny Powers of Eastbound and Down, and his Virginia squad has moved on to the World Series. They took out your Cinderella favorite, Dallas Baptist.
They were the last ones. The last ones that I thought I could root for. DBU, and Virginia came along with their pitcher who's afraid of caves and loves Dippin' Dots. I've learned a lot about him.
His dogs think he's awesome.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah, he was pretty funny listening to him. They were, as far as like the seeds in their region went, they were both number 3 seeds.
Yes.
And one of your favorite Dodgers is a UVA alum.
Yes.
Maybe you can
CT3. Well,
don't be so cavalier about this. Root on the Cavaliers.
I think I will. I might as well. We've talked about my beginnings in the humble state of my humble beginnings in the state of Virginia, which I don't remember, but I was born there.
I can tell you a lot about it. If you want to know, ask me. I can tell you. I think
I have since been there to see where I was born, but it's several years later.
Yeah, not the same as like the experience of being a kid there.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think my appreciation of history, especially U.S. history, came from living there, because they're right within just a few miles of us in any different direction was, in some, like just a mile or two away from us. And when I was a kid, Dr. J played for the Virginia Squires, and they would play part of their games in Hampton, the city we lived in. So
cool.
Anyway, who else moving on to the Omaha?
So we've got Texas and Mississippi State, and they actually will be playing in Omaha. Texas beat South Florida. Mississippi State beat your favorite, Notre Dame.
Yep. Finally, they got eliminated. Not as quickly as I wanted, but finally.
We have Arizona, who beat Ole Miss. And the interesting thing is Ole Miss forced a game 3 against Arizona after beating the Wildcats 12-3, but then Arizona came back in game 3 to beat Ole Miss 16-3. So Arizona Wildcats have
12-3. Take this, rebels.
Right. They punched their ticket to Omaha, and of course, I should have picked Arkansas to be the seed that would not be making it to Omaha, but I picked Vandy, and they proved me wrong, and they will also be in Omaha, and they will be facing Arizona. So, and we did not mention the Cardinal of Stanford will also be on their way to Omaha.
And the Volunteers of Tennessee.
Yes.
They eliminated the Bregmans, the LSU Bregmans, and they'll be taking on Virginia.
Yes.
In Omaha. Now, unlike the super regionals, which were the best of 3, we're back to double elimination. There's 2 brackets, bracket A and bracket B. So NC State and Stanford, Arizona and Vandy will play in one bracket. The other side is Texas, Mississippi State, Virginia, and Tennessee. And then it'll be double elimination. So they'll go from there, and then whoever makes it out of the brackets will play in the finals from each side until somebody's lost 2.
That's it.
All right, so next week, it will all be all about Omaha when we're talking about the College World Series. We're out of the playoffs and into the College World Series. So that'll be
real
fun
thing
and exciting. All right, now the big thing, and it's become like a segment every week here in some shape or form, illegal substances, doctoring the baseball, which we all know has happened throughout baseball. once they realized, pitchers realized they could do, I think we talked about this before, but at the beginning of it, baseball, the pitcher was really just somebody out there tossing the ball up so that the ball could be put into play and get things going. And the batter could even say, here, put it here. I want it right here, so that when they hit it, they would be right in where they like to hit. And the pitchers eventually said, I don't think so. And they started doing other things, even throwing underhanded, which is what they were supposed to do. They tried different things. Eventually, baseball said, okay, we'll make a change. That seems more fun. And from there, it's just steadily gotten out of control, apparently. And recently, in fact, in the last couple of weeks, a lot of players have kind of come out and said, yeah, we're using stuff, without coming out and saying that. Other players have admitted to it. I know that Troy Percival, who was mentioned, former Angels reliever, was mentioned in the whole Bubba Harkins thing as far as using different concoctions, which also will connect to Garrett Cole, who we'll talk about in just a second. But even he's come out and said, yeah, I used to put some stuff on the ball too. So, and there's a rule like 3.01 or something like that. It talks about not discoloring the ball, not using paraffin or emery boards or licorice or dirt. You're not even supposed to put rosin on the ball. You put rosin on your hands, but not on the ball. And then there's what is it called? You mentioned in the opening, spider tack.
Spider tack, which was concocted by a guy who actually competes in like the strongest man competition, and they carry these really big, like boulder-like things, and that was used for that, to get a good grip on that, because it's like a medicine. It looks like a medicine ball, but it's bigger than that. And he had no idea that it was even being used for baseball.
No, he said he all of a sudden he was getting orders from all these weird different places, and that the number of orders shot up. All of a sudden it was really popular, and he didn't really understand why. I guess he does now. Recently, Garrett Cole was asked if he used it, and he what was the one I saw in one story I read? He did an Elaine Bennis-like dance around the answer, around the question.
Awkward.
And it was, if you saw it, he's I don't know how to answer that. So essentially he said, yes, I have.
Well, Adam Wainwright has also come out and said that he used sticky substances in 2019, but he didn't like it. It didn't work for him. It didn't seem to make a difference. Corey Kluber has also been outed, but the guy who outed him, Brian Bubba Harkins, the former Angels clubhouse attendant. I'm not saying that Kluber didn't use something or he didn't have contact with Harkins, but I think Harkins has something to gain out of this whole situation. So is he throwing names out?
Remember the and there's been movies about it. I can't remember which one specifically that would be a good illustration of this, but when they had all those back in the 50s, they had all of those hearings about communism, and then if you
McCarthy,
went in front, the McCarthy stuff. But if you went in front of at the hearing and you gave up people, that saved you. You basically were shielded. So the more you gave up, the more protected you were. So you just roll on people. You never. One time somebody said communism. I looked at their face and they looked like they were thinking communist thoughts. Bubba Harkins, he thought about calling me, but he didn't.
Hell, he would.
So all of this is just getting out of control. And the MLB has finally decided, after whatever they were doing, I guess, compiling data. And some of these things have been called out. Trevor Bauer called out a bunch of this stuff back in like 2018, and nothing's been done.
And Trevor Bauer is being a scapegoat for the whole thing because they're saying, like, well, if he's the one who called it out, he's trying to hide something.
What is that? Whoever dealt it, or whoever smelt it, dealt it?
Right. That's what they're thinking. But he's always said, make it a level playing field. I think for Trevor Bauer personally, just reading about him and then watching him pitch, and hearing other guys that have been on the teams with him, he's very analytical already. I think we mentioned before, his dad's an engineer. I don't know what he majored in college. I would think it's probably engineering. So I think he's got that kind of mind. Now, did he use something? I don't know. I wouldn't say he didn't.
I think he probably did, because everybody does.
Right. But why pick on him? Because he's easy to pick on, is really what the deal is. Well, because
he's outspoken. The people that are out in front of everything and are not afraid to put themselves out there, that's who's going to get. He's made himself the target,
right?
Whether he deserves to be or not. I can't remember what he wrote, but Liam Hendricks, reliever for the Cubs, brought it out that he tried stuff and it didn't really. And of course, he could be a target because they've seen his spin rates have improved. He was almost DFA'd a couple of different times from different clubs, and he's talking about it. He's like, but there's got to be something.
Yeah, he's with the White Sox.
Oh, the White Sox. That's right. I don't know why I said the Cubs.
Well, it's a Chicago team.
Right, but still.
Well, it made me think of he had a little bit of a temper tantrum the other night because it was raining, and every ball that the umpire threw to him was wet because it was pouring down. But it was the ninth inning. They wanted to just get through the game, and he was throwing the balls on the ground. He's like, I can't use my sticky stuff. No, I don't.
Right. It's washing everything off.
Dusty Baker said that, this kind of stuff has been going on since the beginning of time, is how he said. And he said he wasn't sure how they're going to enforce it. We know that there will be 10-day suspension with pay if a pitcher is found with substances on the ball. But he said that MLB is trying to get the game to go faster. And he feels that this is going to slow down the game. And umpires need to worry about calling balls and strikes, which we know this season they have not done a good job.
Right. Now let's add something else on top of it. So they're going to be trying to call balls and strikes while the whole time they're going to be watching the pitcher or other players to see if they're doing something that seems suspicious and could be doctoring the ball.
Right.
They have a hard enough time focusing on just one thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I was just thinking.
Will they be using the replay to see? Because there's been a lot of stuff on social media where, like the other day, I saw a thing of Yu Darvish where they're like, he was rubbing something in his glove. And I heard Mark DeRosa on MLB Network say something. It's like, people, there's guys going to their gloves to places that they've never touched their glove there before. That part of their glove has never, ever been touched by anything. And now they're rubbing it. It's like the finger up on the side of the glove. They're rubbing. It's like, so it's obvious. There's a lot of video evidence that makes it obvious that people are doing stuff in their gloves, or, there was a player that had pine tar on his neck. You could walk up and put your hand on the back of Justin Turner's back, rub a little off of his jersey.
I was just thinking that. I mean, it looks like Tony Gonsolin has like spaghetti sauce or something on his sleeve every time he pitches. So that could be something.
Who knew?
You don't.
A good, what are they? Good gravy.
That's right.
Good gravy. And, comes up. And
Well, I was
that's why you're
thinking
hungry for
too.
Italian after the game whenever the Catman pitches.
Right. Well, I was thinking too. I mean, the umpires are, we know, we've seen through challenges how sometimes they get the play right or the call right, sometimes they don't, and then it gets challenged, it gets overturned. But if you're just standing there, you're the second
This season,
baseman.
they're not even getting overturned.
I know. If you're the second base umpire, the first base umpire, and the guy goes and like scratches his nose, they'll be like, oh, I gotta check that ball.
Oh, he had some Clearasil
Right.
on what he said he had a zit up there, but they put a little Clearasil on his blemish, and now
It's on the ball.
So starting on Monday the 21st, so what's that? The first day of summer.
Yep.
They're going to start enforcing this, the 10 game suspensions. If it's found that a pitcher has it, he'll be immediately ejected. If any position player, say the catcher, because that would work, the pitcher doesn't have it, the catcher could be rubbing something. That's a little too close to the umpire maybe, but then again, the umpire can't see what's happening most of the time right there. It seems like the catcher would be perfect.
Yeah, right under their nose.
The catcher could probably like stick it on the umpire's leg and reach back and be like, hey, you're the one supplying it there, Joe West, Angel Hernandez. But if, they see it happen, they're throwing the ball around the horn and the shortstop or the third baseman rubs in their glove with the ball a little bit before they throw it, that could get them tossed. And they're supposed to check numerous times throughout the game. The other thing that's supposed to help with the timing is like when the pitcher comes out of the game. So in between innings, when you would be in commercial, they're supposed to be checking. So like if a reliever comes in, you check them as they're leaving the game or at the end of the inning. You have to, I think they said that the starters need to be checked at least twice and relievers at least once based off of, how much time they're actually going to be in the game. And then being tossed out, they'll be ejected and they'll be suspended. And teams cannot replace the suspended player. They're down that pitcher. Now, what happens if you have two or three pitchers that all get caught? You're down from 26 to 23 and you can't call anybody up to replace them.
This is the biggest mess that MLB,
this
MLB
is worse than
has done. Yeah, it is. I think it's almost like they have made mistakes in the past and like with the asterisks and then steroids, everybody, knew, and they didn't do anything. And then they kind of did some stuff. They did a crackdown, but this just seems really over the top. And I don't think it's good for the game. I think it's going to hurt negotiations when it comes up for CBA. I think that they need to just leave the game of baseball alone. It was fine before Rob Manfred got involved. And since he's been involved, it's just seemed to be getting worse. And it's not the game itself, but it's all these little things that he does.
It's not baseball.
No, it's not
MLB.
Baseball. It's MLB. And they continue to try to tinker with something that doesn't need to be tinkered with. Like, leave it alone. And MLB owns Rawlings. So they make the baseball. Why can't they make a baseball that is for the safety of the players? We know this happens. Let's make it so it's a little hacky and do that. Why do we have to have 10 game suspensions? And now you're really messing with the game. If you want to talk about scripted, Now games are going to be scripted.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too, because if you went that route or you did the conspiracy theory thing, it's like, and scripting is how much of this back and forth between the players and, is this all just part of the game? Well, I don't need, if I want scripted drama, I can watch that on any TV channel probably. How many shows are there that come up all the time on streaming services? I don't need it in baseball. And going back to the balls real quick, apparently in the Japanese league, they have a tackier ball. So why not look and see what they're doing and figure out how to, they want a level playing field, they keep saying, but the more they're messing with things, and Pete Alonso came out and essentially said they mess with the ball all the time, especially in trying to manipulate the market. Now, from that side of it, that doesn't seem right, because a lot of, they're trying to make it so the pitchers won't make as much by changing the ball. So, more home runs or more offense, or there's more offensive players coming out. They do it the other way. So that way, well, the offense is the way it is because of analytics. Pitching is the way it is because not only of analytics, but because there's something fun. The one thing I always remember was when I learned how to throw a curveball, and I couldn't throw it very well, but to be able to throw the ball and snap your wrist or do something that made it do something different other than just go straight, that's fun. And you got guys like Trevor Bauer, and there's others, he's not alone in this, who are trying to find ways to make a pitch do something that nobody's pitch has ever done. And now we're going to take, and I get it, substances on the whole, it changes things. But if you're going to take away somebody's out pitch now, who needs a little bit of something to give it just that extra spin, you're going to kill some careers here. And maybe you shouldn't have had a career if you have to count on an outside substance. But how many times have we watched a video of just an unreal pitch? Clayton Kershaw's curveball. It almost looked like an ephus pitch sometimes, the way that he goes. And I'm sure I don't think he needs any tack to throw that, but it's an incredible pitch. Now, when you see a slider and all of a sudden the way it slides over and just, or even just you miss out all those fun things, like watching some of these, hits, some of these, home runs that are hit. Unless this is all scripted and at the end, they're all going to come together and sing Kumbaya and be happy with one another and sign this, I see that we're headed for more labor strife, and baseball just can't ever seem to get out of its own way. Mm-mm. And they say this is what's best for baseball, but it's not best. Play the daggone game. Stop with all this other mess. Yes, you allowed this to get to the point that it's at. It never needed to be this far, and you could have controlled this better, so that maybe it still would have just been rosin and sunscreen and everybody's using the same thing. Pine tar on a bat. People are like now comparing that. It's like, all right, well, I'd rather them be able to hold on to that bat than my pitcher constantly having to jump out of the way of a bat.
Yeah, I was just thinking, when you said pine tar in the bat, it made me think of George Brett coming out of the dugout when they said he had too much pine tar.
It went too far up.
Too far, yeah.
But why did that matter?
Yeah, right.
When he hit the ball, the pine tar didn't do it. The pine tar would have made the ball stick to it more.
Exactly.
So you took away a home run or whatever it was because with the pine tar. What difference did that make? It's always a fun thing to watch, to see George Brett lose his mind coming out of the dugout like that. It's a, that's a fun memory.
It's a classic.
Yeah. But once again, and then they didn't care. MLB didn't care about steroids when it was helping them. That whole summer of McGuire and Sosa and the home run chase was great for baseball.
Yes. Ticket
People
sales
came back in droves.
Mm-hmm.
And you should have thanked them. And it wasn't against the rules.
Yeah.
So why does anybody that's doing it after the rules were stated? So Mark McGwire, whether he used them or not, did for baseball. Had he and Sammy Sosa not done what they did that year, baseball eventually would have probably found their way back until they stumbled over themselves again. Because the steroids really were early 2000s. We had the sign stealing and all that got, what, 2 people got, and they're both back in baseball.
Yeah, managing teams.
Joey Core's, Alex Core, Joey's his brother. Alex got his old job back. It was like they just put somebody in there as a placeholder for a year.
Yeah, he went on sabbatical.
Yeah, I'm gonna go write a book and center myself. And then AJ Hinch, the only one who's really losing out on this is AJ Hinch because he had to go to a team that's just awful.
Yeah, that was his punishment, was to go into the Tigers.
Go to the Tigers.
The whole thing, it's just like, leave baseball alone. And if we already have seen in the last 2 weeks, you can read article after article about this guy's spin rate is down. It's not the same. He had a bad outing because, and so there's all this, that conspiracy theory going on. Oh, it's because he must have used this. And then it goes back to, how are these umpires going to be on lookout everywhere for something? Johnny on the spot. When
it looked like he was using something, and I missed that was a ball or a strike.
Yeah.
So focused on whether or not he's rubbing something off of his belt loop.
Right.
Yeah, if you want to read more about this, go to The Athletic, and I could have went down a major rabbit hole with this because they've got a whole thing. MLB sticky situation, I think, is what they called this whole section, and you can just go from one story to the next.
It'll make your head spin.
Yeah, there's just so much.
Thing.
Yeah, the spin rate on your head will be more than any pitch. And what I'm looking at is we need to enjoy this baseball season because we may not have one at least at the start of next year because they're going to be fighting. And I don't think the owners are going to give in as easily as, they've never really given in easily. But I think that there's going to be an issue with them and the players, and unless it's fully scripted and they play the game back and forth and then come together at the last minute, the 11th hour, as they say, whoever they are, I just don't see this ending well.
I don't either.
It's time for Dodger baseball.
We talked about last week that All-Star game voting, the fan voting, has begun. And if your name is Max, you have good news and bad news this week. We'll start with the good news. Good news is he is the number 1 vote getter at first base in the NL. So currently, it looks like he's on his way, deservedly so, to Colorado to play in this year's All-Star game. 6 other Dodgers have joined him in getting votes and are all within like the top 6 at their position. We talked about Max being number 1. Gavin Lux is number 3 in the voting at second base. Corey Seager, when was the last time Corey played? April?
I think
May.
Early May.
He's number 3 behind Javi and FT Phone Home. Justin Turner is number 3. Deservedly so behind Chris Bryant, who's at number 1. But he's been having a great year. He is ahead of Manny Machado, and that's really all that matters.
Yes.
The National League, the top vote getter is Ronald Acuna Jr. No surprise there. Mookie Betts at number 4, and the guy that we've been voting for, number 6, Chris Taylor, who, if he had a bigger name, would be ahead of Mookie Betts and deserves to be on the All-Star team more than Mookie does.
And Mookie would probably
Agreed.
agree with that. Yeah.
And then the Fresh Prince, Will Smith, is number 4 in the catcher voting. Buster Posey is the top there, once again, deservedly so. So
Yep.
7 Dodgers on there, and Max Muncy, like I said, number 1 at first base. Hopefully we'll get Chris Taylor in there.
And you can put Chris Taylor, now he's listed under the outfield. So when you go, you have to wait because you're like, where is he? But you can write in votes for second base, for shortstop. He plays all of those. Write it in. Chris Taylor. Then you vote for him, 3 times, 3
There you
different
go.
positions.
I would do that. I could do second base. I think he plays second base better than, what's his name? G-Lux. Pretty decent week for the Dodgers. Of course, they were playing the 2 of the worst teams in the league. One of them they swept. And in game 1 versus the Pirates, the second series they played versus the Rangers. But in game 1 versus the Pirates, we were once again reminded why the Pirates are in last place. And that would have been courtesy of Pittsburgh Pirates rookie Ke'Bryan Hayes. Walker Buehler pitching. Walker Buehler's been doing great, not giving up any runs or anything, but Ke'Bryan, who's on the list to be a Rookie of the Year, he's a Rookie of the Year candidate, took him deep. So Walker gives up a home run, and once again, the Pirates, being the Pirates, found a way to mess it up.
They Manfreded it. Oh.
They Manfreded this. Ke'Bryan Hayes does his home run trot, but who was the eagle eye in the Dodger dugout who caught something that was amiss?
Our cuz, Austin Barnes.
Nice. And what did he see?
He saw Ke'Bryan Hayes missing first base. He did not touch first base.
And not by just a little bit where it could have been like, oh, he just kind of scraped it a little bit. He was like a whole foot width off of first base.
Off the base. And when I saw this, the first thing, a lot of people were confused. The announcers were confused because where the ball hit, it hit the foul pole. And it was a home run when they showed the replay. But at first, it was like, was that a home run? Which way did it hit? And then all of a sudden, it's like the Dodgers are challenging. Like, why are you challenging? It's obvious it's a home run. Then they showed the proof of his foot on the other side of the bag. He didn't even touch first base.
I don't know how he missed that and how he didn't realize he didn't touch it.
Yeah.
Maybe there was confusion because maybe he went to the Cody Bellinger School of Base Running. Not sure.
I would say Cody does hit the base. He just sometimes not sure where to go.
Right. What do I do? That guy's coming back at me. What do I do?
Where do I go?
I don't know.
So that was the beginning of the series, and it just went downhill there.
Instead of giving up a run there, Walker Buehler gets saved by Ke'Bryan Hayes' Manfred up and gives up no runs in the game. Now, he only struck out 2, and I've got to say this, versus Pittsburgh, who strikes out towards the top of the league, we here in Southern California went hungry. Now, not completely hungry, and we'll talk about why a little bit later. But we went hungry because they never got 10 strikeouts in a game. They got close in game 2 with 9 Ks. But in this game, they only had 5. Walker only had 2 of them. But he pitched 7 innings. Didn't really, I guess technically didn't give up any runs. I feel kind of bad for Ke'Bryan Hayes. Not only does he have to play for the Pirates, but that's one of those things I don't think you ever live down. I mean, to this day, how many times do we see the ball bounce off of Canseco's head?
Yeah, a lot.
You know, those little things like that are like major mess ups. And the weird thing is, this wasn't the only time that this happened on the same day. In the minor leagues, Mike Witt Jr., Mike Witt Sr. was a pitcher, pitched for the Angels, among other teams. Mike Witt Jr. in the minors, I think he's a double-A player, hits a home run. He gets first base, but he misses home plate.
How?
On
How
the
do you do
same
that?
day. I don't know. There needs to be some base running drills being on, especially for those two guys. And Cody needs to join them. They need to have winter remedial base running. You know how like summer school, since they play in the
Yes.
summer, it's got to be winter school. And they got to go learn how to, and then they just get put into games for base running
That's it.
in the winter league, in the Arizona Instructional Fall League.
Yeah, the Pirates series, all 3 games involved rain. The first 2 games were delayed because of rain. And then the 3rd game was called because of rain. But it got called in the top of the 8th. So it was deemed a complete game. So the Dodgers went on to sweep the Pirates in that game. 6-3 was the final score. I knew they weren't going to be able to come back and play because there were puddles, huge puddles in the outfield for me. I mean, it just all of a sudden is like the sky opened up and buckets of rain were just dropping down. And that game was on YouTube, and Sean Casey, a former major leaguer, he was there. You know, he lives in the area, I guess, and his papers, his notes were flying all over the press box, and they had, the YouTube logo, baseball game of the week, backdrops. They were falling over. So it was quite a storm.
Yeah, I didn't see that. It happened. I forgot that it was there and that it was on YouTube. In that game, though, Julio Urias, 6 innings pitched. He gave up 3 runs, struck out 5, and he gave up a home run. But he went 1 for 2 with 2 RBIs, so he was trying to contribute to his own. And then game 2 was the return of Tony Gonsolin, right?
Yes, Tony
and
Gonsolin.
his spaghetti sleeve.
And his spaghetti sleeve. I really want to know that how we got to get him. Like, we got to really try hard. See if Catman would come on and tell us about that sleeve, because it intrigues me every time. Like, how does it happen? Like, I get the tar, on the back of Justin Turner's, but this is like, it looks like spaghetti. Like he just wiped his, mouth with his sleeve before the game. Oh, I got a pitch. Okay, I get out there.
Let me put down in Tommy Lasorda, in memory of.
Yes.
Tommy was a big pasta guy.
Yeah, so he has a bowl of pasta before the game. Yeah. So Tony came back. Let's call him the Catman. He had been out since spring training with shoulder injury, and he just came back. He only pitched 1 2/3 innings. He gave up 2 hits, 1 run, walked 5, and struck out 4. So not probably the outing he was looking for, and probably not the outing maybe that the Dodgers were looking for, because they were hoping he'd go longer so they wouldn't have to go into the bullpen. But it did turn into a bullpen game. Kinley got his 14th save of the season in that game. The other guys that came out, they looked good. So, but hopefully for Tony, he'll just get better. One of the things too is we always have to remember, when they do rehab stints, especially pitchers, they go to AA or AAA, and a lot of the hitters are not, they haven't been to the majors, maybe, but most of them haven't. So a lot of the pitches that that in the majors, that the batters are going to lay off of, the minor leaguers will try to hit. And so I think it skews, it's good to be on the mound and throw in a game, but it also skews it when you get back into the majors.
All right, so they took the broom to Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, and then came home to take on the Rangers. Once again, the bottom of the AL West, another team who's pretty much all but out of it. And they didn't quite have the same success. However, into the first 2 games, we all had jumbo jacks.
Which that's always the important thing.
I really don't care anymore if they win or not. They just got to get 10 because really in game 2, they didn't win, but they had 11 Ks. Thus, we get a jumbo jack.
And interesting too is in game 1, they beat the Rangers 12-1, which you're like, okay, it's the Rangers. They should beat them 12-1. The second game, the Rangers said, no, we're going to beat you 12-1.
Oh, yeah. You think you can do this? So can we. Yeah. AJ Pollock was the lone run in that game with the home run. The one stat in all of this that stood out to me was in that game, CT3, very uncharacteristic, 3 strikeouts.
Yeah. And if you notice, if you go through the box scores and if Chris Taylor doesn't have a hit, they're usually on the losing side.
Right.
It's just one of those, you kind of notice. One thing also in game 2 is Andy Burns, who I had just seen play with Oklahoma City Dodgers in Albuquerque, got called up. And he had 2 major things happen. He got his first major league hit and his first major league strikeout.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, and he got to use spider tack.
No, no, he didn't need to. He got his strike. I mean, he did give up a home run, but
well, you don't know. He didn't. Maybe he
did.
Or maybe some other concoction. Yeah, he got that first hit, and then he pitched. How crazy is that?
Yeah, we had our first position player pitching. He did leave the game. He has an 18 ERA, so I don't know if he'll be asking Dave Roberts, hey, can I pitch again to get that lower, or he'll just
honestly
go with it.
In that game, wasn't it? It was only David Price who had clean inning.
Yeah.
Everybody else, because Trevor Bauer Trevor Bauer gave up 6 runs.
Yes.
8 strikeouts. Nate Jones, who we'd been singing his praises, gave up 4 runs.
I know.
And then, of course, Andy Burns gave up 2 runs, but Andy Burns is a position player who'd been a rookie. I mean, he's a rookie. He got called up.
Yeah, that's it. In game 1, Max Muncy came up, hit a home run, and then had right side tightness, which I screamed at the TV, not the oblique. And
by the way, this is the bad news portion of the Max news.
Yes. And yes, unfortunately,
he was day to day, right? To start with the oblique.
Yes.
The oblique.
And before that, he had hurt his ankle,
right?
And that was day to day, and that seemed to be better. And then now he's on the 10-day for the oblique. In the same game, Cody Bellinger had a hamstring. He said it was just a cramp, but it is not just a cramp. And he is also day-to-day with a left hamstring injury. Looks like he probably will be back on the IL after coming back off the IL, where he had been for, I don't know, almost, was it a month and a half, 2 months?
Yeah, for quite a while.
So that's our bad news. Game 3 of the Rangers series, the Dodgers were up 5-0. And in typical Dodger fashion,
bullpen
Bill Skip Bickford faced 4 batters in the 9th. He gave up 3 hits and 3 earned runs. So now it's 5-3. Now it's a Kenley Jansen situation. And Kenley, being Kenley, who likes to make sure that we're all wearing our heart monitors, had bases loaded. I mean, it was just hard. It was really heart stopping. And I thought, how could you go from 5-0? Now you're 5-3. And I love Kenley. And he did get
go from 13-0?
Yes.
To 14-11?
Yes, it was the same thing. Kenley did get his 15th save in that game.
Skip came out, did his Kenley impersonation, and Kenley said, "Oh yeah, I'm the only Kenley that can do Kenley."
Well, it worked out because he got some pop-ups and I think like a ground ball, and that ended the inning and the game, luckily, because the Dodgers have Philadelphia at home for 3 games, and then they will start their 6-game road trip in Arizona against the Diamondbacks. So,
and then they'll a little bit later in June, they'll also do some inter-division rivalries with San Francisco and San Diego. San Diego being first. In that game 3, Mookie Betts contributed, scored 3 runs, 2 for 3, hit a home run. Zach McKinstry, 3 for 3, 2 RBIs and a double. And then Walker Buehler started that game, 6 innings pitched, no runs given up, and struck out 5. And we didn't get to eat that day because we didn't get a jumbo jack.
Right. Blake Trinan did have a strikeout, but it was only 1 strikeout, and 6 does not equal 10, so no jumbo jack.
All right. Before we get to this week's Player of the Week, let's go look at Albert's Corner. All right. Albert was in 5 games this week, went 4 for 13 for a .308 batting average on the week. His batting average on the season's .218, but had that good week. 2 runs, 1 home run, so that brought him up to .672, and 1 RBI. On the season, he's got 10 home runs, 25 RBIs, and 1 stolen base. And I think that, I know a lot of people would probably be saying, Albert, Dodgers, why did you sign him, whatever. But I think overall, he's been a good pickup for him, as we said before. I know, once again, like I am with Nolan Ryan, I am an Albert Pujols fan and an apologist, so I will go out of my way to find good things about Albert Pujols as far as his playing is concerned, because otherwise he doesn't need that. But he's definitely a great influence on the clubhouse. He's always smiling. He's helpful. I think one thing I've noticed is Walker Buehler has taken to him. He's always telling him, hey, he's very upbeat, very encouraging. Walker, hey, don't let that get to you. You're a great pitcher. I have never seen stuff like that. He's always telling him stuff. And Walker, while pitching well, has continued. When the rest of the staff seems to have their issues, he's been the most consistent. And that might be part of it.
Yeah, and he's the quiet one. Well, and also in the clubhouse, Albert doesn't just have that presence there, but also there are a lot of Spanish-speaking players on the Dodgers that were quiet, and he's getting them to come out of their shell. According to Clayton Kershaw, said that a lot of Spanish-speaking players that, they're just quiet and didn't really say a whole lot, and Albert is getting them, coaxing them
out.
Yes, come out, be part of this. And and he's always got a smile on his face. And that's just the best part. He just loves being there.
We'll check in again next week to see how Albert's doing and what could be his final year of professional baseball.
For the Dodgers, they did have 2 things that happened as far as transactions. Besides the IL, Mitch White was sent to Oklahoma City. Dennis Santana was DFA'd. So doesn't necessarily mean that he's gone, but I would think he's probably no longer going to be a Dodger.
This week's Player of the Week. Take it away.
I went with Walker Buehler this week. He went 2 for 3 at the plate in his when he pitched in Pittsburgh, and he went 7 innings in Pittsburgh. Not, it's not like, he had 13 strikeouts. He only had 2, and then in the game against Texas, he only had the 5 strikeouts, went 6 innings. But he is the quiet guy that you forget is in between, that is pitching, because you got Clayton Kershaw and you have Trevor Bauer, and Walker Buehler's just doing his thing, and he is undefeated. He is 6-0 this season, and the last time he lost a game against Colorado was in 2019.
Wow.
So I went with Walker Buehler.
Well, that was my pick as well. Just looking at everything and what he did when I went back through all the games. Like you said, he did. He pitched 2 games. He pitched in both games of this last week's series, or in both series. 2 games total, 13 innings pitched, gave up 7 hits, no runs, struck out 7. The batting average against him, 156. And then he batted 400. Went 2 for 5. So he helped himself. Before we move on to take a look at what the Angels did this last week, something I wanted to note: Matt Beatty batting .280 since he's been back from his little stint in OKC, or the alternate site, wherever he went. He went to alternate site.
Yeah, I went to Arizona.
He has come back and has been consistent, and he's batting .280 currently. He's been in that platoon for the most part with Albert. He gets the righties, Albert gets the lefties, and that's been working. Also, Dodger Stadium will be full this week as California is opening up their economy and dropping a lot of the rules and regulations that we've been living with for the last year. So when you look in at any Dodger game, expect it to be fully rocking. I wouldn't be surprised if it looks like there's an earthquake happening, because Dodger fans are very excited.
I was going to say, you might be able to feel it at your house.
Angels had a better week than the Dodgers. You wonder how that could be? Well, and before we get to that, just so you know, this week's Angels segment is brought to you by Witchy Poo Brooms for a clean sweep like the Angels had all week. They played Kansas City, the ever-submerging Royals, not the same team they met up with earlier in the season, and the Arizona Diamondbacks for the first time this season, and they are eliminated. They're the worst. I think they get the worst record, or they're the farthest behind everybody in baseball. So great week. This is it. As we've talked about with the Angels before, generally they're playing about 500 ball. Last week they were 3-3, or 2 weeks ago 3-3. This last week, clean sweep, 6 games. The Dodgers couldn't even do that against 2 bad teams. So things were looking up for the Angels. Pitching still Dylan Bundy still having issues. Did get a win, but he's still giving up home runs, and that's his biggest issue, that he hadn't always been that guy. And I was thinking, before we get into the games, let's go ahead and start off this Angel segment with the Shohei Spotlight. Number 1, Shohei is the top vote getter in the DH category for the American League. And they have one other guy who's getting votes. We'll talk about him in a little bit. Shohei, 6 games. He pitched one of those. Went 6 for 13. Batted .462. Had a home run. 3 RBIs. 3 doubles. Scored 5 runs. Over the week, he pitched 5 innings, gave up 5 hits, 2 runs, struck out 8, no home runs given up, for a 2.85 ERA, faced 24 batters, threw 86 pitches, 60% of them being strikes. And like I said, he is probably going to be on the All-Star team, at least voted in as the DH, maybe even used as a pitcher. Because if you're really going to use him right in this exhibition,
and Joe Madden said that he was okay with that.
Yeah, because he doesn't pitch that much, so why not let him throw an inning?
Yeah.
And he's stuck at 17. We'll talk in around the league who's leading baseball with home runs. So the sweep happened versus the Royals, and it wasn't close. This is how we expected the Angels to score runs, and they're doing it without Mike Trout. So imagine if Mike Trout was part of this, hitting the way he was. And just a quick note, it looks like Mike Trout may be out a little longer than they expected. could be more towards the end of July. They're also saying, well, knowing Mike, he may be back in time for the All-Star game. I think that Mike Trout should just set it all out. Make sure he's 100% right, because if they can keep playing like this, they'll need him on a potential run to the playoffs. They took the first game 8-3, the second game 8-1, and the last game 6-1. Common denominator in all three games? Any guesses?
I think his name is Max.
See what I was saying? In Southern California, it's good to be named Max, because Max Muncy, Max Stassi. Every single game, 3 for 4, 2 for 4, 2 for 4, a home run, RBIs, scored a run. He had some help in the first game. Anthony Rendon, 1 for 4 with an RBI. Juan Lagares, 2 for 4. Bundy went 5.2 inning, gave up 2 runs, had 2 strikeouts. His ERA currently is 6.16. Can he come back from that? Sure he can. Will he? I don't know. I just don't know what's up with him. Is there an issue? I think you've mentioned it, used this before. I hope it's a mechanical or a mental issue and not a physical issue that requires surgery or something. In game 2, Shohei hit number 17, 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. Andrew Haney, though, 6.2, and then only gave up 1 run, 6 hits, 7 strikeouts, and 2 walks. That's one thing I'd been noticing. Low number of walks overall. So the strikeout to walk ratio has been pretty decent. And if you're keeping people off base, you're making them earn their way on. It's nothing like walking a couple of guys on base and then somebody hitting a home run. You just gave them 3 runs. You could have gotten away with just 1 if that was the case. And then Jose Iglesias helped out Max, as well as Anthony Rendon, and Griffin Canning, a decent outing. 6 2/3, 1 run, and 6 Ks. They took a day off and then went to Arizona, where they busted out the brooms again. Now, this one was a little closer in the first 2 games. They actually went to Zennings in the first game, pulled it out 6-5. Now, Max wasn't a huge impact on this. However, he did have an RBI, went 0 for 1 as he just pinched hit. Kurt Suzuki, the other catcher, he went 3 for 3, 2 RBIs, 1 run. He had a great game. And then just as he was coming up, the Diamondbacks went to change their pitcher. However, he'd only faced 2 batters. Can anyone tell me what's wrong with this picture?
It's management of the game.
Correct. That would be 100% true, 1,000% true. Yes. And the rule is you must face 3 batters. So Joe Madden came out and said, hey, he's only done 2 batters. They made the pitcher come out. So the guy who was coming in had to either go back to the bullpen or into the dugout to wait his turn. They brought the other pitcher back out, who promptly hit Kurt Suzuki in the back of his leg, his hamstring. And it was pretty hard, it looked. And Kurt went down, had a hard time. He tried to walk it off. He went to first base, but they ended up pulling him out of the game. And that's why Max ended up in the game. They ended up winning it in the Zennings. Jared Walsh was the ghost runner, and he scored. So that gave him 6-5. They were able to shut them down in the bottom of the 10th. Shohei, 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 8 strikeouts, as I mentioned earlier. And then he went 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run scored. The next game also close, 8-7, not Zennings, but Jacob walked 3 times. So he's keeping his on-base percentage up there. Max, again, 2 for 5, 2 runs scored. Anthony Rendon was the big dog in this game, 2 for 3 with 4 RBIs and a home run. Alex Cobb, not a great outing. Only threw 3 innings, gave up 7 hits, 5 runs. Julio Iglesias and Taylor Ward both went 2 for 5 in that game. And then finally, in the last one, they did what they should have been doing to Arizona the whole time, blowing them out 10-3. And Max was 1 for 4 with a home run, 2 runs. Jared Walsh, who should be getting your votes for first base in the American League. I don't think he's even ranking in the top 10 for votes. but he should be there. He went 2 for 5, 3 RBIs with a home run. Fletch, who had a couple of okay games, a 1-4 game, an RBI here and there throughout these the sweep week. 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. Jay up 3 for 5, an RBI and 2 runs scored. And then Patrick Sandoval has been pretty decent at his last couple of times out. 6 innings pitched, which I think is what he did last time. 2 runs, gave up 2 runs, struck out 4, and walked 2. And then a big thing that happened for the Angels, not really for the Angels. Have you ever gotten a foul ball at a game in all the games that you've gone to in your life?
No.
Have you ever been close, like within a row or 2? Or
Maybe, yeah, with maybe a couple of rows. But usually I'm ducking for cover.
Yeah,
in the head.
I've never even had it within. Like, it'll come in my general direction, and Blanco will be like, hey, here comes a ball. I'm like, yeah, it's going to be over my head. It's going to be way back. I don't even get up because I know it's not going to be. And I'm not going to play the bounce and fight with everybody about it.
Right, right.
Because that's always where it happens. You get in there, and then some little kid's in there, and you end up having to give the ball up to some little kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, I never got a foul ball at a game. I've been to hundreds of games. I've never gotten a foul ball. I've never gotten one within a couple of rows of me. And I'm telling you now, I want sections in the ballpark that are non-kid sections for 2 reasons. One, I don't want to be shamed into, because I won't be. People are going to hate me because I'm keeping the ball. If I catch it, I'm not going to give it to some little kid who's staring at me with little kid eyes. It's like, little kid, make your dad or your mom or whoever brought you to the game get the ball for you. I'm not giving the ball up. That's one. And number 2, inevitably, I go to a game where they have a bobblehead and they take the bobblehead out of the box, and before the 3rd inning, the bobblehead is broken. And while that's fine if you don't want to do it at home. Don't break it here at the game. I know it's not worth that much, and I'm not going to sell it like Tom Brady's football.
They should have an age limit on the bobbleheads, because really little kids shouldn't have that type of
They should
thing.
have an age limit where you can have kids and an IQ test. You're not smart enough to have a child because you're at a game and you pull it out because why? They want to keep the kid quiet, or they want to stop them from pestering them to pull it out. But how many parents? It's the parents' fault. It's not the kid's fault. They should still have an age limit, but regardless, I've gone off in another direction. But
You've gone off the rails.
If I'm at a game and I'm sitting near you and you have kids, a kid, many kids, and the ball comes, number 1, I'm not going to push anybody out of the way to get it. I'm not going to fight for it. If the ball comes to me, I will try to catch it. If I miss it, unless I get hit in the head by it, I will gladly give it up. But don't send your kids over looking at me thinking I'm going to give it to them because I caught it. That means I earned it. Get your little snot-infested munchkins away from me and my baseball. Got it? Good. So in that, in the 3rd game of the Royals-Angels series, in the bottom of the 7th, a foul ball was hit up and back, and I think it was in to like where they have like the Diamond Club that's right behind home plate, and there's tables so you could sit there and eat food and watch the game. So you've got to be able to get into the Diamond Club to go there. And there was a man standing there. The ball comes up and over. You really got to want a ball. Part of this I would have done. Most of it I wouldn't have done. The ball comes over. There's an open space where it's just concrete. And then there's the tables. The ball bounces. He's trying to get it, but it bounces back up into and hits him in the throat. Did you see this?
I did see this.
Hits him in the throat. And so now he can't really breathe because he's in shock, but he notices immediately where the ball went because it bounced down off of him and went over to a table. So he didn't hesitate. Pain and all that he must have been, from that trachea whack that he just took. And he goes pretty much diving for the ball that had gone under one of those tables, whacks his head right on the edge of the table.
Well, and it didn't help that there was a guy who nobody's around him, or you couldn't see when it hits him in the throat.
Right, then, came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and then next thing you know, he's towards the table, pretty much diving towards the table, hits his head, but another guy is coming in
to try to
get
the
that
ball.
I'm like, this guy he earned this ball. He has suffered physical abuse.
Right?
And you're going to come and take it?
And then if he had gotten it, because the other guy had his hands on the ball, he touched it, but he didn't fully get it. The other guy came up with the ball, the guy who took the throat whack.
Yeah.
But this guy, if I'm going over there, I'm going to shield him from other people because he's earned the ball.
Yes.
And
not trying to
me,
take it away.
A cheap way to get it. It's like when somebody grabs a ball out of a little kid's hand. One of the coolest things I ever saw back in the day, Bo Jackson playing for the Royals at Angel Stadium comes over to give a ball to a little kid. And some idiot comes over and tries to grab the ball that Bo's given to this little girl. And Bo just held the ball. You're not going to get, what are you going to, that's like the dog when he bites you and they clamp their jaws down and you can't open them till the dog decides to release or whatever. That's how Bo was with that ball. He was not giving it up. And then finally, and he just stared at the guy and the guy finally went, oh, and walked away. And the little girl got the ball. But it was like, why do people do that? I just stop fighting with him. He's giving the ball to that kid.
Well, there was an interesting, speaking of, this wasn't a foul ball. I think one of the players, it happened at Dodger Stadium, and I don't remember if it was a Dodger or if it was the opposing team. It just happened probably within the last, 2-3 weeks. So they throw a ball up into the outfield, and they specifically to this little boy, and he looks like he's maybe 4 or 5. And he has it, and his dad's looking at the ball, and he's excited. And then there's a couple sitting next to them, and the woman that was sitting next to the little boy, he shows her the ball, and she's like, oh, it's like, oh, this is nice. And then he whispers to his mom and ends up giving the ball to the woman sitting next to him. I think he might have had a little crush on her. Is what happened. So that was kind of fun to see. I don't know if his dad was happy.
Yeah, no, probably not. It's like, because we had a ball. Why would we be? Yeah.
And the lady was like, oh, thank you. It's okay. I don't know what happened. I'm hoping maybe she gave it back, said, here, you can
gave it to the mom or the dad and said, just let me back later, hopefully. But that was nice. She didn't reach over and take it from him.
No, she did not.
See, that's the problem I have. I'm not going to give up a ball that I got of my own effort.
Right.
But I'm not going to go over and take a ball from a kid or push people out of the way, whether it be a kid or an adult. Mm-hmm. If it comes to me and I can get it, or if like it's in one of those sections where there's not a lot of people there, maybe it's towards the end of the game and it bounces and I can go and reach over to the next row and I'm not depriving somebody who was there, then that's fine. But I'm not going to hurt somebody to get a ball. But like that guy, if he gets hurt, he's earned it. Don't go try to take the ball from him because dude's got he can't breathe. He dives for the ball, hits his head. Now he's got a concussion and you walk away with the ball. But guess what? It's on video and we all know what a jerk you are. Right. You should be going to games in Houston because you're an ass fan, an asterisk fan all the way. So anyway, now Mike Trout leads all outfielders in votes for the All-Star game. While I get this, that he's a popular guy, he's well known, it's good for baseball, he hasn't played in a long time, nor will he be able to probably play in the All-Star game.
This is the problem with the All-Star ballot. It's fun for the fans to vote. And of course, you're encouraged to vote for your team. But really, you should be looking at not just the name, but looking at what they're doing on the field instead of just, oh, well, it's Mike Trout, it's Bryce Harper, these guys that really are not having a great season, but they get voted in based solely on their name.
Or they're not going to be able to play in the game anyway, and
right.
it.
Yeah, because they're on
obviously the Angels voters are probably either voting for him, but there's a lot of people all over the place. There's probably people who vote for him just because they know what his name is. They don't know what's going on with him.
Right.
I just think that MLB should take him off of the ballot and say Mike Trout will not be able to participate. I get it. It's like, well,
it's the same thing with Corey Seager. I mean, he hasn't played. He had a fractured hand. He is in taking balls and throwing. He's getting back up there. But should he be an all-star this year? No. And he really should just focus on. He probably wouldn't play even if he was on the all-star team, and he doesn't need to be there.
But
just
his numbers don't match up because he doesn't qualify for anything because he's been out for so long.
Right.
That's like Cody Bellinger getting votes. That's fine. Maybe a couple of Dodger fans maybe do it, but he shouldn't play either. He has no qualification for the game this year. I know you want to be, and the bigger problem is that maybe in some of these guys' contracts, if they make the All-Star team, they get a bonus or something.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, Mike Trout, Shohei, I think, has to be there, and he's earned it.
Yes.
Mike Trout is an all-star. We all know that, but he's not going to be there. Why do that? I mean, that does mean that somebody else is going to get a place, but chances are they're not going to replace him with Jared Walsh, who should be an all-star.
Yes. So vote for him.
Exactly. Angels are going to be up in Oakland, and then they've got the Tigers. So good chance to move up because they've moved up into third place in the AL West. Seattle is fading, and of course we know that the Rangers are not. They're on their way out. They have some good players. There's just a lot of issues there, and so with the Oakland, they have a chance to gain some ground, and then they've got the Tigers, which is another weak team. However, they can't sneak up on you, and you could end up losing a couple to the Tigers without realizing. Cabrera can still step up. Eric Haas, who we'll talk a little bit up in around the leg, is having a good year as a rookie. Let's look at our player of the week. I'm kind of thinking it's not going to be a surprise, but who you got?
I got Stassi Max. Stassi.
Max, the new Max in town.
For all of the reasons that you mentioned, 10 for 22 over the week, 455 batting average, 3 home runs, 3 doubles, 8 RBIs. Just incredible week for him.
And I absolutely positively agree. I didn't even have to look and compare anything. Every game, all I saw was Max. He contributed in some way, coming back off of the IL, and since then he has been, and we saw him last year start picking things up, and he's continued on, and so I'm glad they kept him, and it's good. Suzuki being there kind of as a backup, give him a little more time, and he came back from a concussion. and he's been tearing it up. Hopefully he can keep doing that for the rest of the season. All right, let's take a whirl around the league. Of course, the biggest thing going on, obviously, in the MLB is all the stuff with the substances. And over the next couple weeks, it's not going to go away. We'll know how many people are being suspended or what issues there are.
I have a question. Can a manager, is it only the umpire, but could a manager say, hey, can you check this person out? Because I think they, yeah. Like, okay.
You know, say, hey, it looks like he's doing this. And if the umpire's not doing it, I'm sure that they can do that. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of that stuff going on. Maybe not right at the beginning, but if it doesn't look like it's getting picked up, especially if it's particularly noticeable.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, I think, yeah, I mean, anybody could call it out and say, hey, and they'll probably go check it. The question will be, what effect does it have on the game? Will it slow things way down? Will it, my issue, like we talked about earlier, how will the home plate umpire, if they're watching for that stuff, and the catcher and the pitcher, obviously the umpires can watch as well, but if he's focused on that, will he miss more balls and strikes?
Yeah, or is this MLB's way of bringing in the robo-ump? So you have the earpiece, you can be looking for substances, and the earpiece is just ball, strike.
Oh,
you
maybe.
Don't do anything.
I don't know. That makes sense. I wouldn't be surprised if they're backdooring it that way. Mm-hmm. You need to be more of a substance cop.
Yeah,
you need to be like DEA or narcotics. It's all about the substances. We'll have Eduardo Perez out there reading Rule 6.02. You got stuff on your hands.
He'll have to do a video before every game that shows on the Jumbotron of him reading the rule.
Oh, that's going to be good. All right, let's go to the players of the week for the leagues. I think that we all can guess who the AL player of the week is, especially with that 455 batting average. Yes, that would be Max Stassi of the Angels, apparently.
It auto-corrected on my notes. Yes, of the Angels, first time since 2019. The last Angel to get player of the week was Mike Trout. So good for Max.
And then, oddly enough, the NL player of the week shares something in common with the AL player of the week. He, too, has had some injury issues and spent a fair amount of time on the IL. But since he's come back, Starling Marte of the Marlins has been kicking some butt. 7 games with he hit 500, 2 home runs, 1 double, 5 RBIs to get him the NL Player of the Week award.
He also stole 4 bases.
Icing on the cake. All right. Another thing that we've been doing often here is Jacob DeGrom watch. And we
I feel like for Jacob DeGrom, we need the Law and Order theme.
I don't.
Yeah, something like that.
This guy, his last 2 starts were versus the Padres. If we could just have him pitch versus the Padres all the time, the Padres would be like in last place because they cannot solve Jacob DeGrom. His last 2 starts, 13 innings pitched, 4 hits, 0 runs, 21 strikeouts, 1 walk, and a 0.93 batting average against. What is it that he's got going on for him? And all of his Brian McCann, Taijuan Walker, Marcus Stroman all came out and said Jacob DeGrom does not use any substances. Now, whether they're just covering for him or it's true. If it's true, everybody needs to go take the Jacob DeGrom pitching course because he's doing stuff that the rest of them aren't doing. He's got a 0.56 ERA right now over 10 games, 64 innings pitched, 3.9 WAR, 103 strikeouts. And other than he's got that hip flexor tendonitis thing, he is pretty much unstoppable.
And he has a 400 batting average. Throw it in there.
So the question no longer is who's the Cy Young. The bigger question is becoming who's the MVP, and is that him?
Well, I think obviously they're a little biased, but every time he comes out, either on the mound or in the batting circle, MVP chants follow him all over the stadium. In fact, in the game that he pitched against the Padres, he came out of that game, I think it was in the 6th inning, or he pitched 6 innings, but he came out of the game. The pinch hitter comes up, and when the crowd saw that it wasn't DeGrom, they started booing.
Yeah.
Like we
booing
want
your own
DeGrom.
guy.
Yeah.
Since we're up in New York talking about Jacob DeGrom, let's take a look over at the Buffalo Blue Jays, who in a game versus Boston hit 8 home runs. And that's where, remember at the beginning of the show, I mentioned a guy named Teoscar Hernandez?
Yes.
2 home runs in that game of the 8. Had a great game batting. His buddy and AL MVP candidate, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., hit number 21 on the season in that game. 18-4 on 20 hits. The Blue Jays are at 99 home runs. The only other teams with at least 90 home runs, Minnesota's second at 95, Atlanta at 93, and the Giants at 91. And that's interesting when you think about it because only the Giants are in first place.
That's true.
The rest of those teams are all third or below. So they get that. They are looking for George Springer to be finding his way back. He started baseball activities, so he's sitting in the dugout, spitting sunflower seeds.
He actually is going to be doing some rehab in Trenton with the Buffalo Blue Jays AAA team that are playing in Trenton.
The Trenton Bison.
The Trenton Bison, yes. They used to be the Trenton Thunder, but they are the Trenton Bison. So.
And Charlie Montoya has said that Springer is not coming back to be a DH. But I have to wonder, because he's only been there, he's played, 4 games?
Yes.
And he could have played 5, but he was fatigued. How many will he actually play when he comes back? And what about the chemistry that they have now? Part of the Blue Jays' issue is more their pitching, because outside of Hyun-Jin Ryu, they don't have a solid staff beyond that. They're not consistent. So they'll probably be out looking for pitchers. Will George Springer slot back into the leadoff spot where Marcus Semien has been doing very well? And who becomes the odd man out of that group?
I think it should be George Springer. Should be the odd man out.
But you know why he won't.
Yeah.
And it has a bunch of zeros behind it.
Exactly.
So he'll be back pretty soon. So they say they're not rushing him. He'll be back when he gets back, but he's going to be right in playing the outfield, DHing, and all that. Like everybody else is rotating through those positions. So we will see. Brian Goodwin, a favorite. That's why we bring him up. Favorite here at the house. Bry is back in the majors, and he announced his return with authority. He's up with the White Sox, 2 for 5, a double, a home run, and 5 RBIs in his first game back. Second game, he had a hit. He's batting .333 over his 2 games. Batted .400 in that 1 game. So welcome back to the show, Bry. Happy to see you. You remember Chris Davis? played
Yes.
for the A's, was traded for Elvis Andrews to the Rangers. He got DFA'd. Former home run champion, and he's going to be released completely. Don't really know what's going to happen with him beyond that, but he is gone. A couple of rookies, one from the American League, one from the National League, been tearing things up. We talked about Patrick Wisdom because he was the NL Player of the Week. Cubs rookie, 29-year-old rookie. In 19 games, he's hit 8 home runs, and he was hitting them consistently. At the same time, for the Tigers, Eric Haas, who's a 28-year-old rookie, over his 25 games, he's hit 8 home runs, and he's hit them consistently. Broke up a no-hitter that Carlos Rodon, who already has one, and we mentioned him earlier in the show, he broke up his no-hitter, so they avoided being no-hit by the White Sox and giving Carlos Rodon 2 things: his second no-hitter of the season and a no-hitter against a team that's not the Mariners, Rangers, or the Indians.
Yes.
Some games that we might want to watch this weekend or pay a little attention to, the A's and the Yankees. Even though the Yankees have dropped to 4th and they're having some issues and a lot of and we don't know what's going to happen as far as the pitching goes. Kluber's out, but Garrett Cole may very well be pitching there. But that's always been a good matchup, and you've got 2 strong teams with the A's being in first place in the West. The Reds and the Padres, 2 top vote getters in the All-Star game for the outfield, who also lead the league in batting average. We talked about them last week. Nick Castellanos and Jesse Winker are going to be there. And, of course, the Padres have Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, and Eric Hosmer. Fernando Tatis Jr., a top vote getter at shortstop in the National League.
And the Reds have been on a tear lately, so
Right.
Padres need to watch out.
So
Joey
that's gonna
Votto's
be-
back, and he's already
And he's
got
determined.
yeah, and he's got, I think, 11 RBIs or, just since coming back. And so they're ready.
White Sox and the Asterix will be meeting up, and the White Sox have really had it on afterburner and are pulling away in the AL Central. And then, of course, the Phillies, after they're done with the Dodgers, will play the Giants. So some good games. The rest of them are all kind of, just lower teams playing each other. Not a lot of great matchups. These seem to be the best. Wrigley Field at full capacity.
And that was a great series to open at full capacity because they were playing their rivals, the Cardinals.
And Anthony Rizzo, who has come up lately because he wants a little more information before he goes to get the COVID shot. And understandably so. He's a cancer survivor. He doesn't know what's in there. He wants to know what's going on, what's in it for his own health. I don't blame him. That is a good reason.
Yes.
Because somebody that you knew in 3rd grade on Facebook who wears a tinfoil hat and lives in the middle of, the desert in a single wide trailer says it's a bad thing to get that somebody's trying to put 5G particles in your body so they can track you. That's not a reason to not get the shot.
Yeah, do your own research. Figure it out yourself.
Scientific facts to help you get what's based on your health, not conspiracy theories by some nut job that you saw tweet something that you've never met before in your life, who thinks his dog talks to beings from Uranus. Anthony Rizzo in that series had a 14 pitch at bat
that ended well for him.
It ended him falling in a well.
No, it ended with him hitting a home run and Wrigley Field.
They went crazy.
Bill Murray was there. He was leading the
Right,
7th inning stretch. I mean, they had it
all
all going. And then Anthony Rizzo with his home run. So, Brandon Crawford of the San Francisco Giants set a Giants franchise record, a new Giants franchise record of most games played at shortstop. And it was 1,326 games played. He made that milestone, has since then played more games. But in that game where he hit the record, he also hit 2 home runs against Texas.
Who did he pass?
Travis Jackson.
Who?
Had Travis Jackson, Hall of Famer Travis Jackson, who held the previous record at 1,325.
We're talking about the American League East and that Buffalo's not, as well as they're playing, they're still not at the top. That would be Tampa Bay. And it made me think about a former Tampa Bay pitcher. And the reason I bring it up with Tampa Bay is that now he's with the Padres. But he didn't pitch a lot. He didn't pitch long innings while he was with Tampa Bay. And a lot of people had the issue with him being pulled out in Game 6 of the World Series. And we were thinking, is he pitching more now that he's in San Diego? And at first it seemed like it, if you're not paying close attention. But then when you go and look at it, you realize Blake Snell only averages about 4 innings per game.
That's it. 4 innings. So 58 innings pitched over 13 games. Averages out to about 4.46 innings.
Right.
So, yeah, it was something I started thinking about because when I look at the games and I see him pitch, I noticed that he was going, maybe 5, maybe possibly 6, but nothing beyond that. And I remember him talking about, well, I can pitch long, I can go deeper into the game. If I would have been able to go deeper in the game, I could have done this, and this, but we'll never know because he never makes it deeper into the game.
His problem is he throws a lot of pitches.
Yeah.
Because he threw 101 in the 7-inning game. 97 in the 6-inning game he did. 5 innings, 95, 4.2, 95, 5-inning, 91, and 81 in a 3-inning. He throws a lot of pitches, so he's, if at 5 innings you're already at 95 pitches or in the 80s, that's the problem. He's not very conservative, and so he's worn out. That's why he can't go any longer.
So he needs to be more economical.
He does. He needs to be more economical. That is the perfect word. James Karinchak, remember I talked about him a couple weeks ago about the guy who's kind of crazy. He's constantly tossing the ball up before he goes to pitch. He started a program called Whiffs for Warriors there in Cleveland for kind of like Trevor Bauer has his, every strikeout, he donates $1,000. Well, Karinchak doesn't quite make $40 million a year. So he's donating $50 for every strikeout to the Cleveland Police Foundation. And of course, it's open for fans. So if you're in the Cleveland area or you're an Indians fan or a Spiders fan or a Ventures or whatever they become.
Guardians.
You can as well. The Rockers. See how much more exciting that is? They're playing the Rockers.
That's right.
Right on! Yeah!
And when they come out on the field, they have the heavy metal, just the guitars, everything. Right. Pyrotechnics.
Be like a big heavy metal rock show. It could be like Kiss.
Yeah, when they come out, when they get introduced. Your Cleveland Rockers, and then with fireworks.
Then they could play Cleveland Rocks.
Yeah, it's perfect. Why aren't they doing that? But I digress.
There you go. And then real quick, before we get to your favorite segment of Around the League, we're going to do Alrededor de Liga Mexicana, which translated is Around the Mexican League. And I have two players. One, Bartolo Colon, who is 48 years old and pitched a complete game for the Acereros de Monclova. He's 3-1 with them. He's pitched 30 innings, given up 14 runs, struck out 19 in his complete game. He gave up 5 hits, struck out 7, 2 runs. He's got a 3.56 ERA. So the big sexy is doing things down in Mexico. And then the other guy, just because I figured if I'm going to go alrededor de Liga Mexicana, let's go see what Yasiel Puig is doing with the Eagle. In Veracruz, he's got 2 home runs, 9 RBIs. He's hitting .295 he's got 18 hits and 4 stolen bases, 61 at bats. And that's it for AML. Alrededor de Liga Mexicana. And now, alrededor de injury list.
So we've got some new entries on the injury list. Shane Bieber is on the 10-day IL with shoulder pain, shoulder inflammation, shoulder injury. Sonny Gray of the Reds has a right groin strain. He's working through that. Adolmus Diaz of the Asterix fractured his hand, or his hand was fractured after being hit by a pitch by our old friend Chicken Strip, Ross Stripling. So
Are you sure that it wasn't from a video game or?
Well,
he didn't see Altuve standing there, and he accidentally whacked him in the head, and
he just hit him. Maybe, but I think there's video evidence of him. Something happening. Okay. Yeah. He will be out 7 2/3 to 9 2/3 weeks. No, he'll be out 6 to 8 weeks. I was just going with Willis? Cleveland with 5 to 7 weeks. Right. I thought I'd just, throw in some fractions.
Wouldn't that be more fun though?
Yeah.
Because you got kids who watch the game. Why not start doing that? Get a little math, because then they start thinking.
Yeah.
5 2/3 weeks to 7 3/9. Because 3/9 could be simplified, right?
Yes, it could be.
So
it's fun.
Maybe that's a better way to get kids involved in math. Why must we do everything?
I think that is what MLB should be focusing on, is helping kids get interested in the game through math, because you can calculate batting averages, there's all this stuff that you can do, and you learn numbers and love the game and science.
How do you create the perfect tack for the baseball to get maximum spin rate? See, science, physics, so some general chemistry, all right there.
Yeah. Anatomy and physiology, because you need to know where an oblique is.
Right, because we were like earlier this season old when we found out where the oblique was.
Right. And that we probably had an oblique injury at some point in our life.
Yeah, the other day I moved the wrong way, and my side kind of hurt. I went, my oblique is not
out of whack. Kyle Lewis from the Mariners, he had surgery on his right meniscus, and there's no timetable when he will be back. Tyler Glasnow left his last start with what was right elbow inflammation, However, he does have a partial UCL tear and flexor strain. So Tyler, it's going to be out for a while.
Done for the season.
And my last entry on IL is Mr. Max Scherzer, and he is on the IL. He has a groin injury. He won't make his next start, and they're not sure how long he will be. But right now, he's on the 10-day.
And he has spoken out about the substance issues and said he pointed to his teammate who took the ball in the face and said, we're going to see more of this if you don't come up with a better way of, find something you can approve as a league. We need that. I wonder if just raising the stitches on the ball might help.
Could help.
Gives you a better grip, maybe?
Right. And MLB has so much that they could do with this in a positive direction. They own Rawlings. Obviously, they're not just making the baseball at Rawlings. There's people in the research and development of these baseballs. What is going on? That's what I want to know. But.
So another person I can hear yelling and screaming about this for a while will be Josh Donaldson, who called out Garrett Cole and then went 0 for 3 against him, even with a reduced.
So great. Yeah. Garrett Cole, of course, they were looking after his press conference where he didn't really answer any questions, kind of skirted around the issue, went out and struck out Josh Donaldson twice, and then I think had a fly out. But that was perfect because, I don't know, I just feel like Josh Donaldson is just, hey, I need to get in on this action. Nobody's paying attention to me, so let me give you my little black book of pictures.
I'm on a losing team in Minneapolis.
Well,
you know what he said? He said, "What about me?"
He did, and
we said, "We don't care."
Right? We don't care. We don't care.
What about you?
One thing we talked about, Jacob DeGrom in the Mets and the fabulous year he's having. Noah Syndergaard, it looks like he may be back September 1st. That's one of the dates that they kind of have circled on the calendar. And then we also have a great comeback story in Scott Kazmir, who pitched against his old team, the Dodgers, hadn't pitched since 2016. He has now been DFA'd by the Giants. So we'll see where he lands.
Remember, we mentioned Nick Tropiano, who pitched against the Angels, who was a former Angel. He also was DFA'd, and I saw that I didn't know he had been until I saw he was picked up by somebody else, and I don't remember who that was because that's how much Nick Tropiano means to me. All-Star voting, we talked about, still going on. Keep voting for your favorites, especially the Dodgers and the Angels players, so we can knock Vladdy Jr. and Ronald Acuna Jr. off the top of the heap for top vote getters. I want to see Shohei and Chris Taylor be the top vote getters. Max Muncy even would be great at the top vote getters.
Yep.
Hey, what is that? What's that coming out of left field?
That would be former diver Laura Wilkinson. She's a 43-year-old mom of 4, and she was a gold medalist diver in the 2000 Games in Sydney, Australia. She had a comeback on her mind. She qualified for the diving qualifiers in the 10-meter board, and she is a 19-time U.S. diving national champion. But in qualifying, she came up short. She placed 10th. On her last dive, the crowd gave her a standing ovation. She didn't hear it because she was under the water, so she missed out. When you said
she came up short, I was worried that she hit the edge of the pool, not into the water.
No, she just didn't have the dives that the other divers who were 20 years younger had. But she said when she started the comeback, she just wanted to have fun, and she did. And I think she showed her kids that, it doesn't matter how old you are. If you want to.
Oh, it was one of those lessons to be learned.
Could be.
It doesn't matter how old you are. You can still do it.
Well, I think maybe I was thinking, we had Helio Castroneves in the Indy. He was the oldest driver. Phil Mickelson was the oldest golfer. So we kind of have a trend going, and maybe she wanted to be part of that and be one of the oldest.
Dealing
diver.
with something in this age group that you're not telling us about?
I have and never will be a part of that business, nor will I personally or financially. I sound like I'm testifying at a Senate hearing.
This? I do not recall, Senator.
Yeah.
I have no knowledge of that. All right, one last thing before we wrap things up this time on Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast. And I just couldn't let this go. One of my favorite character actors has passed away at the age of 83, and that would be Ned Beatty. He's been in so many movies. He's done, you see him in one thing and he's serious, dramatic. And then he's like talking about diving. He's in Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield. And he's kind of got that. And, I bring that up because Rodney Dangerfield was like a diver, came and saved the diving team in that. So he passed away. And the reason that I bring this up is because every time I think Ned Beatty, there's a Jeff Foxworthy bit about the 96 Olympics. And if you remember, or if you didn't know, Ned Beatty was in a movie called Deliverance back in the early 70s. It's the only movie that he ever got an Academy Award nomination for. And Jeff Foxworthy is talking about that the river that they used for the kayaking in the 96 Olympics in Atlanta was the same river that they filmed Deliverance on. And he said, if Ned Beatty couldn't make it down that river, why would you think a Frenchman in bicycle shorts could do it? And I was like, there it is. If Ned Beatty can't do it, it probably can't be done. And that'll do it for this week's Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast.
Remember, you can find us on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com, and on Facebook and Instagram at siblingrivalrybb.
We're also on Twitter at Sibling Rivalry BB without the A. Email us, show@siblingrivalrybb.com. We'd love to hear what you think, so subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to our podcast. Next week on SRBB, are MLB pitchers causing global warming? Plus, we check the All-Star Game vote tallies.
I might be heading to the IL with texting thumb as I try to rig the All-Star vote. Vote CT3.
You're